Hi there! Besides watching and letting myself get carried away by stories, I really enjoy taking a closer look at the world of BL and analyzing it according to certain subjects. In each video, I will take on a subject in an informative and hopefully entertaining way, and express my thoughts with the help of a co-narrator. May I introduce my two co-narrators to you? From Together With Me. Together, we bring you... In my baseline video, I defined BL, or yaoi, and talked about some of its history. I emphasized that the BL culture is carried mainly by women and girl fans, also called fujoshis, both as creators and as consumers. Give it a watch if you need more information on what I am talking about. For those just learning about yaoi and the BL culture around it, it might sound rather strange to hear that women are drawn to couples consisting of two men. Some casual consumption, along with other kinds of stories, makes sense, but that women have such a strong attachment to the genre? With heterosexual couples in films and series, there are female leads that women can identify with, or at least can imagine themselves in the female character's shoes, especially when they are attracted to the male lead. This alignment between female characters and female consumers is obviously based on their gender. But in men-on-men romances, women seemingly do not fit into the narrative. Therefore, considering how many fujoshis there are, the identifiability of a character in relation to their gender does not have to be a straight parallel line. So why then? Why are these women drawn to couples where they seemingly do not fit in? Let's kick off with a reason I heard from a fujoshi when asked in person why she liked BL. It was the enjoyment of seeing two handsome men together rather than just one man with a woman. This may sound superficial, but in many moments of consumption, the attraction to BL can be simply about having twice the eye candy. This mainly goes for the fujoshis who are attracted to men. They make up the majority of fujoshis, but not all of them, as there are also lesbians who enjoy BL. From the perspective of the fujoshis, this is perhaps because in most heterosexual media, there is one couple that is the focus, or at most two. So there are one, maybe two men that women can gush over. And sometimes lots of eye candy is enough to make you enjoy a love story. In most countries worldwide, heterosexual couples are the ever-present standard in day-to-day life. This can vary according to area, of course, especially in relation to big cities, where you might see a more diverse population. But if you are not fully immersed in an LGBTQ+ or BL space, then the media landscape is very heteronormative. This heteronormativity usually also means that the majority of the heterosexual couples exist in a hierarchical social structure and reproduce sexist stereotypes. So seeing a couple that is different from the norm can be a refreshing change. It is often the case that curiosity is the driving factor which draws the women and girls to consuming BL for the first time. And people who enjoy romances in general just might want to have a change of scenery. This also includes the different settings and storylines that centering a same-sex couple allow for. For the other reasons I am about to talk about, it is important to consider affect. Affect is when an object, whether physical or abstract, is given a greater significance when it is viewed in a context of meaning and imbued with emotion. For example, this line on the street is just a line to most people, and to them it only carries the meaning of separating traffic from pedestrians. To this BL character, however, it is the guideline, the thin rope they can grasp onto that gives them a sense of safety from the dangers outside of the line. Similarly with BL couples, to some people, they are just another couple and carry no greater significance. To many fujoshis, Two men in a relationship have an affect that is deep with meaning and emotion. The same gender means the same social standing, doesn't it? This interest in seeing a couple that is different from the usual heterosexual stereotype can also stem from the viewpoint that a couple consisting of two men is more equal than a heterosexual couple. There are plenty of societies where the social expectations for women put them in roles that they are not comfortable with and offer limited opportunities for self-fulfillment due to the sexism in their environment. This leads to frustrations surrounding heterosexual relationships and the women's place in them. Fujoshis tackle this by taking the women out of the equation and replacing them with men. This is with the understanding that these men are free from some of the social pressures that women face. These BL couples represent an ideal equal relationship. What's maybe less talked about is how loneliness can be a driving factor for immersing oneself in the BL sphere. Where there is an emotional void sucking the joy out of life, BL offers a satisfying experience to fill it. You could be single and wishing for love, or feeling isolated from friends and family. Or in general, you might not have many people to talk to, or feel under stress from work or school. BL is entertainment and excitement, a source of romantic or sexual gratification, and ultimately, a distraction from the daily struggles. I know that this has been the case for me in the past. Some young fujoshi also seek to learn about love, sex, and relationships from BL. Many young women in Asia do not get the adequate information on these subjects from their parents or their environments. And all kinds of stories can give the illusion of being educational, whether they are innocently romantic or highly sexual. It is also a fact that many women are turned on by BL and do not shy away from some very graphic content. These sex acts are conceived within the women's fantasies and are meant to express their own desires, not reflect reality. This does carry the big risk that impressionable consumers will internalize bad relationship dynamics and, quite frankly, some bad sex education. The fan community could probably mitigate the less ideal influence of BL on their fan sisters if they took an active role in separating fiction from real life. This does require clarifying directly to other community members how much of BL is fantasy, and perhaps even offering some proper sex education themselves. It is, however, a difficult topic to breach, as it is still quite taboo, so the ability to differentiate between what is realistic and what is fantasy is not always encouraged. Creating BL, like any creative activity, is a way to express one's feelings. Through BL, creators can express themselves on topics of relationships, love, sexuality, and society. And it just so happens that these creators are drawn to BL stories. What the creators are essentially doing is playing with gender and gender roles in society. They can create characters that they identify with and experience their fantasies through these male versions of themselves. Or they can conceive of characters that are further away from their own personalities, but put them in situations which they enjoy seeing play out. This can result in one or both male characters displaying behaviors, living in an environment, and sometimes even their appearance being what would otherwise be expected from a woman or girl. This is apparent in the use of bishonen, an androgynous, almost feminine beauty with which some ukes are described. This applies usually to the ascribed uke, or bottom in the relationship. This can go so far that in some stories that feature a supernatural element, there are women whose minds unintentionally enter a man's body. They then live for a time as the man they inhabit, during which a romance with another man blossoms. So the women are literally stepping into the body and life of men and finding love that way. This is not to say that the behaviors and choices of women and men are so different from each other that one gender would never act the way that the other gender does. I do find myself thinking at times, though, this feels very much like a woman's perspective. Would a man actually react that way? Now, noticeably placing a man in a woman's environment can be seen as problematic. As a reminder, though, the target audience of these stories are women, and them directly seeing themselves in the male characters is really the whole point. And this is certainly not the case for all characters. Not just the ascribed semes, the tops in the relationships, inhabit male spaces and display male characteristics. There are plenty of stories where both men have lives that do not echo that of a woman. Choosing to write about two men falling in love is a form of empowerment. There is a lot of freedom in being able to play with gender and different kinds of relationships. Societal pressures can fall away, and experiences that are otherwise out of reach become accessible in one's imagination. There is also a sense of rebellion in going against the heteronormativity of the day-to-day. It might just be a rejection of the ordinary and stuffy societal norms, or it could be an active resistance to a system that forbids all relationships that it considers subversive. There is power in community resistance, and stories of love have the potential to leave a lasting impact. The desire for connection and community is a driving force in the BL culture, I would argue. It's what makes it a culture, and not just a phenomenon. The BL culture, starting out as the fandom around yaoi manga, used to be a grassroots movement, attracting, among others, marginalized women, and gave them an outlet and a community to express themselves freely. Now that the BL culture has spread considerably through the internet and has moved into a trend status for a few years now, the community now more than ever offers many chances to share and bond over beloved BL works. Now, with all that said, there is a fact that is as much true as everything else. There is only so much explaining one can do as to why women might be drawn to BL. Part of it remains unexplainable, and just a personal preference. Creators could conceive of women characters with the qualities that they admire in men, and explore more equal relationships in all sorts of gender configurations. There are so many options in this world, and yet BL is what has enraptured so many. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you liked it.